Oh, it's on.
Here we go.
You put it on, yeah?
This both on?
Yeah.
I just pushed. I just turned it on.
Take one.
We have 0 people, and you're leaving, Shlomo?
Yeah.
So I have nobody to
I'm
look.
not
Nobody to. You can sit.
Okay.
You want to sit there?
No, I want to sit here.
You do? No, can you sit very, very close to the camera? Very close, so that my eye line with you and the thing, yeah, even though it's like that. Yes, okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our introductory class, Introduction to Alshech Kabbalah class. We've been on hiatus for about, how long have we been, Shlomo, how long has it been since we've had a class? A month?
2 months.
2 months. So it's been a while. Obviously, there's a war going on, and there were some holidays, and we have plenty of excuses. We don't need to list them all about why we didn't have classes for close to 2 months. So I think it's a good time for us to regroup and try to, talk a little bit about, have an overview of what we're trying to accomplish here and what we're doing here. So let's see. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is that, I think a lot of people who are watching these classes are probably watching the classes somewhat casually. They're not watching every single class. They're watching, they're picking up little snippets, which is fine, which is great. I just think we should talk about how to utilize these classes effectively. And so, Kabbalah is its own wisdom that is a separate, they call the inner aspect of Torah. And so there's one Torah, and the entire Torah is trying to accomplish the same thing. But the question is, what is the thing that the Torah is trying to accomplish? And so, what I would suggest is that for people who are listening to these classes casually, and if you happen to be a observant Jewish person who's already studying Torah, which is many of our students here, not all of them, probably not even the majority, but certainly there are, a large portion of the people who are watching these classes are observant Torah Jews who are practicing the Torah and mitzvos, all the commandments and all of the observances and guidelines, Halacha it's called. And so I think that just a word to somebody who's casually watching these classes and is not sticking around for the other class that we give, which is much more, is reading from the actual articles of the Baal HaSulam. So I would just say to those people is that, you can use Kabbalah study to inform the rest of your practice. And so Kabbalah is very good, even if you don't become a Kabbalist and you don't study Kabbalah all day and night, which some people do. It helps us to try to understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish in Torah and mitzvos. It's one Torah. All of these different parts come together in a very, very beautiful way. And so if a person, sometimes you meet people and they're like, they're doing everything, but they're not 100% sure what it is. They're serving God. They want to improve themselves, whatever those motivations are. And so I think that if you're listening to this classes, infrequently and just once in a while, it might be a helpful tool. And if you're not a religious person or you're not even a Jewish person and you're watching these classes, then I think that ironically, it could be a little bit easier to study Kabbalah. It's an irony, the Lubavitcher Rebbe famously said that if you want to be a Torah person, you have to become good at paradoxes. Sometimes things are not intuitive. That's why we study Gemara, right? If you study Gemara, they have they come up with a situation, and then they're all different rabbis are discussing, different sages are discussing, I think we should do it this way. And the other person says the exact opposite. And then a third person comes in and says something that's completely different from the first two. And so what is going on there? And so basically, there are many paradoxes in Torah learning. And so you have the inside and the outside of some things. And that is literally the work of Kabbalah, is how do we transcend our differences? How do we come into balance? How do we unify above our differences, men and women, the holy and the profane, this world and the spiritual world, right? The material world and the spiritual world, the body and the soul. These are all paradoxes, and so that's literally is the study of Kabbalah, is the study of how do we unify paradoxes. That literally is the whole system. As the more a person learns Kabbalah, they will see that you have a force in nature, gevura, which means stringency, and then you have a parallel force that is oppositional, which is chesed. And so we're trying to learn how to balance these extremes in life and bring them all into a beautiful tapestry that works in unison to achieve all these higher goals, which is the revelation of godliness, to be able to like perceive God more in a more revealed way. That is a goal of Kabbalah, and to become a more to become unified inside yourself, and to become unified with your friends and your partner and society. And so these are all things that we're going to learn about in Kabbalah. And so I was just making the point that if you are somebody who's listening to this and you found this clip on YouTube and you're not Jewish or you're not observant, ironically, you might have an easier time, because when we're studying the revealed Torah and we're studying Kabbalah, sometimes they don't necessarily go together. And so I'll give you an example. Example would be if you're in a relationship, you have a spouse, or you have a wife, or even a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and you have the exterior of the relationship, how you behave. You don't look at other people. You don't spend your money on you bring your money back to the relationship. You spend the money. You build a house together, and so sometimes these objectives, these desires, these goals are not exactly the same. So you can come home and your wife could be like, you could have done everything good that day, right? You went to work and you came home straight from home and you did all the chores that you were supposed to do. You did everything on the exterior of the relationship you did right, but yet your wife is still angry at you. Why is she angry at you? She's angry at you because you didn't feel the right way about it. She doesn't like that you're like checking out emotionally. You're not, you came and you did everything robotically, but you didn't come in. So you see that there's these two different, not necessarily, we're not talking about the same thing all the time. Sometimes we're talking about, so in Kabbalah, we're talking about kavanah, about our intentions. So a person could be serving God and doing all of the laws, and they can be going to prayers 3 times a day, and they can be doing all these things. And yet they can end up in a situation where they're not thinking about God, or they're not particularly even happy with God, right? And so these two things don't necessarily line up. And so we have, so as an observant Jew who's doing the revealed Torah, who's doing all the laws, following all the laws, sometimes they can lose track of how they're feeling about doing the laws. Why am I doing this? Am I doing this because I want to unify all of humanity and I want to bring peace to the world? Or am I doing it because I want a reward, and I think that somehow if I do these things, God is going to then reward me either in this world with blessings for being healthy or being wealthy or being, right, all these different reasons that you might have, and that's not necessarily wrong, but it's in Kabbalah we're examining these things, and we're trying to so it's a part of the Torah that is could be very informative for somebody who's not looking to become a Kabbalist, but they are looking to understand why they're living their life the way they are as an observant Jew, or even as a person. And so that was the first thing that I wanted to say. And the other thing I wanted to say is I wanted to talk a little bit about, since we haven't been here for 2 months, I wanted to talk about the election just very short. I wanted to say that, that it, I think, at least for me, has crystallized a lot of what the issues are. The war, first of all, here in Israel. We're living in a war zone here in Tzfat in northern Israel. But the election, I think, has done the same thing for a lot of people, which is really kind of crystallized what a terrible situation the world is in, and how polarized everybody is, and how people are. I have very close friends. I worked in Hollywood for many years, and I was considered myself a liberal. I don't know if I consider myself a progressive. I'm not sure I really understood what a progressive was, but I said I certainly had friends in my community, and my friends were all liberals, and we thought in a certain way. And so a lot of my friends, I spent an hour on the phone with a friend of mine, one of my best friends, and I know her for 25, 30 years, and she's very liberal. But we love each other, and her and her husband are both my very dear friends, and it was painful to see like how there's a disconnect, and how what I think is right, somebody else who I think is a good person thinks it's wrong, and vice versa. And so what I would like to say here about what we're doing here is that literally some people, there's a lot of misinformation about what Kabbalah is, and people think it's all these different things. They think it's like you're going to learn magic tricks, or you're going to be able to read people's minds, or you're going to be, become much smarter than everybody else, whatever the perceptions are of what Kabbalah is. Or some people think it's a waste of time, some people think that it's some, archaic nonsense, that it's like some old world stuff that's just, why would anybody want to like revisit things that were talked about thousands of years ago? But the wisdom of Kabbalah is a very, very practical, very current wisdom. And it's literally the Kabbalists from 2,000 years ago said that this generation is the generation that they were writing their books for, which is very hard to believe and understand. Their point is that as we have, thousands of years of the evolution of consciousness, that we were going to get to a place, a global place, which is like a birth for humanity, because now all of a sudden everybody is a person. Before, if I lived in England and I was like, and you had to get on a boat and go for 4 months to see people from a different place, you weren't that worried about them, if they were going to live or they were going to die, or how they, how they dressed. You didn't care, because you were isolated, and you were insulated from them. Mm-hmm. But now we have a global situation where we are together with everybody, even people who don't agree with us, and even if people who hate us can reach out and do something to us. It's immediate. And so literally, in that situation, this is God telling us, and if you have a problem with the word God, that's a whole other class, but let's not get into who we think God is and what we think God is. But if there is a force, a higher force that's acting on us in nature, because one of the names of God is nature, Elohim in Torah Judaism is a name for God, and it means the God of nature, the God in nature, the God that manifests in the physical world. What?
Maybe hiding in nature?
Hiding, but not only hiding, revealing. It's, you have so we're talking about oppositional forces. So the hiding is the other. If you have a coin, one side of the coin is being hidden, and the other side is being revealed. And so these two things, and this is a very good. You've been studying here for a while, so you picked up on. This is what we learn in Kabbalah: is that without the revelation, without the hiddenness, there is no revelation. Without the revelation, there's no hiddenness. And so these two things, these opposites come together. So without being separated, there's no coming together. Mm-hmm. Without coming together, right? So these are the thing that we're looking for, and the opposite are integral to each other. And we're trying to learn, how do you balance them, and how do you come into alignment with all of these different forces within yourself and within society, and with nature. This is exactly what we're studying. And so I hope that as we continue to learn here, that people start to see, to try to connect, all the feelings that they're having inside of themselves with what's going on here. This is not a wisdom like being a engineer, where the thing that you're building is outside of yourself. No, we are talking about the makeup of all of creation, and that means that everything that's happening inside of you, and everything that's happening inside of all the rocks and plants and animals and people, and even in the higher consciousness, spheres of higher consciousness, which in Kabbalah we call spheros. These are all we're learning about all of these things in the whole entire system of creation. Okay. So that's what I wanted to say. If you have something to say in response to anything you've been thinking about, or no, you're okay? Okay. So, very good. So I'm just going to open up. This is the book that we've been learning from. It's called The Inner Work, and it's a compilation of just interesting excerpts that the author, who is a friend of mine, and he's also a Kabbalist who's been studying for many, many years, probably 30 years, and he translates books, and so he took a compilation of different these snippets from the articles of the Baal HaSulam. So the Baal HaSulam, Rabbi Yehuda Ashlag, is a modern Kabbalist, he's not that modern. He's from 75 years ago, I think. Maybe he passed away, I think, I'm not sure, in the 20s or 30s or 40s, or maybe in the 50s. Anyway, the point is that since he was part of this generation, in Kabbalah, we talk about the generations, and we talk about how each generation is another opportunity to revisit the same issues, and to take the process further. It's an evolution of consciousness. So each generation, we move forward, and we get a little bit more unified. The world becomes, in 6,000 years, the world has become more unified. Now, becoming more unified is a good thing if you're getting along, and it's a bad thing if you're not getting along, right? So if somebody's doesn't like you and they want to kill you, you build a wall. And so this is exactly what we're trying to say. And so if you look at Torah Judaism, you see that everything works on these principles. You have the weekdays, and then you have a separate day that is balancing the 6 days of the week, which is the Sabbath, and we're not going to go into that, but you could do it with everything. You could say that you have a marriage, and Torah Judaism, the man and the woman come together after the woman goes to the ritual bath, and then they have relations, and then they separate for 2 weeks. I don't know, people who don't know about this might be shocked, but a religious Jewish couple, they separate for a certain number of days in the month. They don't sleep in the same bed. And so these are like all of the Torah Judaism, all of the rituals that we do, the mitzvot, are like a manifest meditation of everything that we're talking about in Kabbalah. So we're actually trying to live out these principles by looking at things, organizing things by saying this is female and this is male. Let's separate them. Let's understand them. Let's see them in their full power. And then let's see how we're going to try to unify them. And so that process in Kabbalah is the process that leads to higher consciousness, to becoming more similar to the Creator. Now, how is that possible? It's possible because if you and I are both rich guys, you have a pickle factory and I have trucks. So I'm making money and you're making money, and we see each other, but then one day we realize, hey, we want to make a partnership, a marriage, a business marriage, where we get together and we put your pickles on my truck and we deliver it to the supermarket. So what happened here? We had two different things that have no purpose, no reason to become unified, but then we have a higher goal, and when we have a higher goal, we're able to find unity between us, even though, let's say, you speak Italian and I speak French, or let's say you're, 30 years old and I'm 60 years old. But let's say all these reasons why we would never want to be together, because we're different. You like baseball and I like movies. So why we wouldn't come together? But if we have a higher goal, that we want to do something together and make money, that higher goal is what allows us to come together. And so this is literally the method called Torah and Mitzvos, which is what we're studying, which is the inner aspect of that is called Kabalah and Hassidut. And we've talked, I'm not going to digress into Hassidut and Kabalah and how they're the same and how they're different and how we should think about them. I will just say that out loud, because I've said it many times, that I'm not only a student of Alshech Kabbalah, but I also am a Chabad Chassid. I also follow the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and I consider the Rebbe my Rebbe, and I consider the Rebbe himself, all the Rebbes of Chabad say that Hassidut is an additional revelation on top of Kabbalah. And for us to understand that, we'd have to do a lot of studying, and certainly there's people who understand what I'm saying because they study Hassidut and they study Kabbalah, and so let's not go into that, but this is all things that we've been covering in this class and we'll continue to study. So I'm just going to do, since these are just excerpts, and we've been through a lot of this book, we've done probably 60 to 70% of this book already, I'm just going to randomly open it up and see what we come to. I'll start reading, and then we can discuss it, and we can see if there's anything comes to mind, and maybe we'll find that as I open the book randomly, we find that we find the exact perfect quote for what we're talking about, which happens sometimes, because as we call it divine providence, that really, in the truth of reality, is that God is through nature and through other forces above nature. God is, every single thing that's happening is being orchestrated, is being programmed into reality, which is very hard for us to understand, even to understand what that could possibly mean. But everything is happening for a purpose, every single thing, except for very, very small, insignificant things. The Baal HaSulam says that every last thing, so if the fact that I have a cup of water here actually means something, and every single thing is happening for a very purposeful reason that we can't possibly understand, that everything is connected. So let's see what happens when we open the book and just start to read, okay? At first, we work spiritually only when it benefits our self-interest. As we progress spiritually, we come to understand that spiritual work is working to go beyond self-interest. Then the true spiritual work begins. Let me read it again. At first, we work spiritually only when it benefits our self-interest. As we progress spiritually, we come to understand that the spiritual work is working to go beyond self-interest. Then the true spiritual work begins. Okay, so of course, it's perfectly applicable because every single one of these excerpts is going to tie into what we just spoke about. So here we see that we have a paradox. We have my self-interest, and we have becoming selfless. Two opposite forces, two opposite intentions. So I'm working to make myself popular in high school or college or at work. I'm not working to make you popular. I'm working to make me popular. I want to be the one who everybody thinks is the best lawyer at the law firm. I'm not thinking about making you the best lawyer. And then I find out as I'm doing this work that there's an opposite impulse, an opposite feeling. It's opposite. I'm interested in myself, and now all of a sudden, as I start to do this spiritual work, I say, you know what? There's a higher way of operating where I care about other people. First, I start off, I care about my wife and my kids and my friends, and then I care about my community, right? And then I care about my country, and then I care about, all of humanity, and then I care about all of humanity and nature and right? So I'm constantly adding these things on top. And so this is the study of Kabbalah, is how do I harness my self-interest to add an additional soul. It's called in Kabbalah, we have 5 souls. So we have the soul, the animal soul, which is your ego and your self-interest. I want to get money so I could buy stuff. I don't want to give away money so other people could buy stuff, right? I'm thinking about myself. But as I evolve and as I understand that treating other people better and well and loving other people is actually something that I would enjoy. And so here he's telling you, here the Baal Shem is telling you, is that when you first want to go to, spirituality, you say, oh, you know what? I want to feel balanced. I want to feel calm. So I start going to yoga. Why am I going to yoga? Am I going to yoga because I want to help everybody? No, I'm going to yoga because I want to feel good, and I want to feel relaxed. I want to feel balanced. I want to feel connected to the universe, all these things, right? I want to feel connected, my soul and my body. I want there to be a marriage, a unification between my soul and my body. I want to feel, you don't have to be a religious person. You don't have to be engaging God to have a feeling that you want your soul, if you call those that your emotional qualities and your desires internally, you want to feel in balance with your physical body. So if you're trying to become happy, and that's why you became a lawyer, and then your body is not feeling happy, then you want to work, right? So you started, and lo and behold, you start to do yoga, let's say, halavai, and from that place you start to become more relaxed, and you start to become more aware of your body and your soul. You start to feel this balance, and perhaps that is a starting point for you to say, I want to feel that balance with my partner in life and with my community. And people today, they say, oh, I want to feel the oneness with the universe, right? And so for us to understand that Torah Judaism in a nutshell, and why Torah Judaism and how Torah Judaism is perhaps different than other systems, we want in Torah Judaism to connect all the oneness, not just some of the oneness. And so we want to connect fully with not only ourselves, and not only our bodies, and not only our spouses, and not only our friends, not only our community, not only our country, not only the whole entire globe, but we want to identify, you want to climb the ladder of consciousness until we identify the creator force and say, oh, I feel that there is an energy that is going through all of these things, these 4 levels of creation. I feel there's rocks, there's plants, there's animals, and there's the creative force, people, Adam HaRishon, Adam Kadmon, the creative force, and we're going to learn over and over again. We'll learn about what that means in depth. We keep going over the same things, and it's the wisdom of Kabbalah can be very, very simple, but it will also be very, very complicated and in depth. But just for our conversation here, we go through these concentric circles from self to greater and greater connection to everybody around us, right? And as we do that, as we feel more connected with the rocks and the plants and the people and all of nature and all of humanity, we start to be aware, we start to become more sensitive to the fact that there is an energy, a frequency, a force, we call it in Kabbalah light. light in vessels, that there's light. It doesn't mean light like we're talking about the lights that we have in here. We're talking about this energy that is pulsing through everything, that is coming from the Creator who created everything, so that He can have a relationship with us. And so if you want to understand Torah Judaism and you want to compare it to other systems, if you're a person who is on a spiritual journey and you're trying to like look around and search around different systems, know that the Torah system is that we want to have a relationship with the Creator of everything and not have a relationship with the creation that is cut off from the Creator. We want to have everything. So we don't want to have, we call it idol worship. And so idol worship in Torah Judaism is if I am happy, I want God to give me money, and then once He gives me the money, I don't want to talk to Him anymore. I want to just have the money. Or I want to be happy with my wife, but I want to be bothered with this cosmic force. It's too much for me. It's too big. So we're trying to, in Torah Judaism, the first monotheistic religion and the most monotheistic religion, we're trying to unify all of creation. And when we do that, we build a kli, a vessel, a receptor to feel all that there's a force behind creation, and that force can be, we can have a relationship with that force, because it's not a force, it's God who we're perceiving through His actions. Okay, I said a lot here. Anything, you have something to respond, or does it make sense what I'm saying?
No, I'm processing.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
I'm going off. Okay, l'chaim, l'chaim, baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Amen.
Let's keep going. And guys, a lot of times when we study Kabbalah, we're not meant to actually understand everything that's being said. We're meant to feel it, and for it to be, to have a, we're trying to, a modern analogy that we give is that we're trying to change the focal point on a camera. So like if we are focused, if you have a long lens and you're focused here at this plane, and let's say 3 feet in front of your face, you can turn the dial and you can focus somewhere else. And so they have the same thing, halavai, with autism, with kids who are born with autism. They don't focus on the same plane of reality that everybody else is. That's a normative person would focus on the reality that's outside of themselves. Some people are like poets, or they're more interested in their internal world. They might not register that they're focused here. They're not focused in the same place as you. You're like, hey, where are you? You're somewhere else. You're not where. So. Yeah. In Kabbalah, we're trying to refocus this lens, and we're trying to find, instead of focusing on what's happening in the material plane, we're trying to see that we're trying to shift the focus to a more internal place, and in that place, we start to see that there's roots and branches, that things are being caused at a higher plane of consciousness, and that they are cascading down to us here, and that this is not a starting point. This is actually where we are in the material plane, is actually the end of a process of lowering of these different worlds of consciousness. So I'm getting complicated, and so let's just move on to the next thing. But we're coming to the end.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just read one more, and then we will leave it here. And hopefully I will see everybody. I'm not going to read another one. I want to make a few announcements, and maybe it's not a good time to make the announcements because it's at the end of the class, but hopefully people will get the message. We started a class. Anybody who is a Tzfat local, we started a class at 7:30 in the morning twice a week to learn Alshech Kabbalah off camera. So if anybody's interested in learning, if somebody lives in Tzfat and they are available, we're learning at my house, at my apartment. Everybody, it's very easy to find out where I live because it's a very small community. So if anybody's interested in learning Alshech Kabbalah, 7:30 in the morning, Mondays and Wednesdays, we have a group of 4 or 5 people already, and we just started. And so everybody's invited to that. And the next thing I wanted to say is that there is a rabbi, his name is Rabbi Gottlieb, and he is my teacher, and he's the teacher of a lot of people who study Alshech Kabbalah. He's perhaps the greatest teacher today studying Alshech Kabbalah, and he's online. His name is Rabbi Gottlieb, and if I will put it into a link for this, but he speaks in Hebrew, and so if you're a Hebrew speaker, you can certainly take his classes online, and if you're an English speaker, there are many classes that have been translated by Avram Lowenthal into English, and so there's probably enough classes for a person to learn once, twice, 3 times a week for a year and learn Alshech Kabbalah. So if you're learning from me, it would be a very, very good, I would invite everybody to please to learn from a person who is much more, a much higher level of in Kabbalah and consciousness, and that'll be two things. One is you'll learn much more and you'll learn better, and the second will be is that you'll be able to check to see if anything I say is being said by me, because I'm trying to say to the best of my abilities what the Ashlag rabbis say. And so I'm not trying to say anything different, new. I have no chidushim. All I'm trying to do is repeat what I've been told in a way that is more agreeable to people who are like me. That's the trick. It's like I'm teaching, Lubavitch Rebbe said, you know, you should teach people who are like you, and they'll listen to you more than they will listen to me. And so if you're inclined and this is something that's intriguing you and you feel connected, and there's more than a few people who have spoken to me in person saying that they're finding these classes very, very good, I invite you to please to find yourself in a rabbi who teaches Alshech Kabbalah, a gadol, and there are more than a few of them in Israel, and my recommendation would be Rabbi Gottlieb. There's also Rabbi Sinai, who's teaching in Tel Aviv, who's also amazing, and so, and there's Or HaGanuz, which is not too far from here. It's a whole community of Ashlag people. So that's it. Thank you very much, everybody. It's good to be back. Thanks. Okay.
Maybe you can cut it and put it in the beginning.
Yeah, I'll cut it myself. So I'll get it from you. I'll get it from Shlomo maybe 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see how early I can get here. But okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Thank you so much. It was
No,
good to
thank
have you back. Yeah. It made sense. It was. I went a little bit down the rabbit hole. It's
No,
okay.
no, but that's nice.
It's good.
That
People
triggers,
just hear it.
triggers the people, you know.
Correct.
to-
Nachon.
to-
Just hearing it. Good. Okay.
And the Shema understands.
What?
And the Shema
The
understands.
Shema has 1,000%.
Exactly.
That's why the Rebbeim have Nigunim, because a lot of the stuff they want to say is beyond anything that they can explain, because people wouldn't understand it, so they just sing a song, and from there, you have the spiritual...
It also helps bring people to the level where they will understand the words that are closer to
It's
that level.
literally a rope. Good to see you.
Yeah, like that.
What are you doing, Breslov?
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit for a few minutes, okay.
You wanna sit here?
Yeah,
Where- where-
I'll sit here, let me just get a little more hot water. Might have to leave in the middle.
Oh, ready to go?
There we go.
There you go.
Continuing Likutei Moharan, Siman Beis, Sif Zion, the Torah Emer Lakoinim. We're about halfway through the Sif, so I'm going to do a brief review of the Sif. According to the concept by which we've been learning Likutei Moharan, it's the thing you do where you find a path through Likutei Moharan and you try to stay on that path. And, you know, it's been a while since we've done this class, so I'll do my best to stay on that path, because there are many ways you can explain it. So I have to stick to one of them if I'm going to make any sense out of that explanation. All the Torah that a person learns in order to guard it, and according to our Indian here, this means that they're going to go to the city of Mishpat, which we'll review in a moment, and set things straight there. It's the city it's a divine location for which all human emotion, they send emotions down to people and they just get them. Has anybody ever just felt an emotion all of a sudden? It's a very common experience. It's mentioned in many Hassidut texts. And this is where they came from. So they should be good, ideally. So us as pious prayers and learners can go to this location by following the prayer method of Mashiach, as has been discussed. And once we're there, we have to set it straight because it's overrun by goons. And that's why people get emotions that are not helpful, because of that reason. So that's what lishmor means. La'asois means that there's a special advantage to the learning of in-depth halacha with regard to being able to sort of set things straight up there. It's called, we called it mishpat before, and mishpat is a lesson of like a shofet, who's a judge. So we have to go up there and be able to be a judge. Now the word la'asois sounds like, well, we're talking about practical halacha then, right? So if I learn Kitzur Likutei Moharan without all the rabbis arguing, wouldn't that do the trick? So then if someone comes and asks you, well, I had the cheese and I had the meat and they touched, and there was a little bit of salt. Is it okay? Do I have to throw out some of this food? And then the rabbi has said, well, how much money do you have? So you have to know the sugya, right? In order to answer any question that's not explicitly explained in the Kitzur. So actually the whole deep rabbis arguing thing, all the opinions, when can you rely on a minority opinion, when can you not? What's called a difficult situation. Yeah, it is practical halacha. Especially if we're going to go to a place where people are challenging the rules. We have to be able to explain ourselves quite well. Continuing, call the oisis, all of the letters in the in-depth study of Halacha, in all the Torah, but in the in-depth study of Halacha, there are a lot of letters. There's a lot of text. Hem nitzutzei neshamas. They are bits of the souls, that the very same souls that we want to help by improving the quality of the emotional radiation that's going into the world. We want to help these people. So if we come across some little detail in halacha in depth, and we go, well, come on, does it really matter the size of the grains of the salt? Well, yeah, it does matter actually. And by disparaging a thing like that, a thing that is hotly discussed by the rabbis, we're actually disparaging a little piece of that soul that we're trying to protect. Again, this is all review. So it's very important in our study of the in-depth halacha not to disparage even one letter, not to mention one word or one concept. Usually at the level of concepts is where we start to tune in. Letters is just a little bit beyond our consciousness, but relatable enough that we can talk about it here. And Rabbi Nachman takes it that far. And all these letters, all these ideas in in-depth halacha that we learned and did not disparage, also known as bits of people's souls that we're trying to help, they come with us when we pray. And when we pray, in the method that we've discussed, you can look in previous classes how to do this, but we go to the city of Mishpat. This is how we actually get to this location where we're supposed to set things straight. And they all come with us. And once they're in the city of Mishpat, they go to a place called Ibor in the city of Mishpat. And we'll say what that is in a moment. But there is where they are rejuvenated and they are given fresh emotions which are more helpful given the situations that we'll encounter. Any emotion can be good or bad. It depends on if it's appropriate for, the whole like laughing at a funeral, crying at a wedding thing. Mm-hmm. If you just switch the two, then they're both good emotions. But if you get it backwards, it has a lot to do with the person and the time and the place. Zehu, okay, now we're going to define what Ibor is. Zehu, from a pasuk in Tehillim, Kapitel Yates, Hashemayim, Esaparim, Kavod Kel. This is a place where a bunch of angels are chattering about the glory of Hashem. Okay, great. What are they talking about?
What does the word Ibor mean?
Yeah, it means like a pregnancy. So they're talking about the glory of God in this place, and what is there even to talk about? The glory of God, wow, like what do you even talk about? So there's a lot of them, and they're all talking. That Rabbi Nachman says a little bit more about what's going on in that place. Hayinu ha-Torah shehu eshumayim. So what is Hashemayim? Meaning the heavens. It's a famous drasha that means eshumayim. There's fire and water in the heavens. And in this sort of pro-edition Likutei Moharan that brings many of the sources and many of the commentaries of Likutei Moharan, two sources for this drasha, and one of which specifies that there's Eish and Mayim, which we saw Zohar, that means the written Torah and the oral Torah, which is where all the rabbis arguing stuff happens, which we must learn and not disparage under any circumstances. And then another drasha says, instead of saying Eish Umayim, it says Sham Mayim, that in heaven there's water. Like as though to think that we get to heaven and great, now we don't have to deal with the rabbis arguing anymore, and we just understand what the Torah means in a simple way. It could go the other way though, right? Who says the heaven's simpler than earth? Yeah, it could go the other way. So, for example, now we have a pasuk, and a pasuk is not simple. If you read it in the Hebrew, even the Hebrew is sort of strange grammatically, and why the nikud like it is, it doesn't necessarily make sense according to modern Hebrew. Then you read all these commentaries and you realize, wow, there's all this huge amounts of information packed in these little words. And then you read commentaries on those commentaries and eventually build up to a point where you can actually make practical rulings about every matter in a person's life, when many, many letters have been added to the mix. But you see how much was packed into every little word of the Mikra, of just the written Torah. Vayedaber Hashem Moshe Lemor. Right? And it says Vayedaber. There's Likutei Moharan. It says Vayedaber means they had a whole big conversation, and you're just hearing just a little bit of a takeaway. There's a lot of stuff they talked about that we don't necessarily even know about. But some of the rabbis who have been able to obtain some higher perspective have been able to draw this information out. So it could be we get to heaven after all this, and every little letter of the Torah's Alshech, which is a very, very long explanation on the Chumash. Every little letter of that becomes like the Chumash, and has 50,000 other letters factored in it. So we should not think then, this is why Rabbi Nachman brings this particular drasha, Eshu Mayim, and he chooses, I'm going to take the Eshu Mayim drasha, not the Sham Mayim drasha. The one that says there's fire and water, not the one that implies that there's only water. So he's just emphasizing the importance of the rabbis arguing Torah, how it affects us and others on an emotional level, and how it comprises the actual heavens themselves. So to speak, the gashmias of the heavens, the physicality of the heavens, what it's made of. Hayinu bechinas neshamis, and this is also what makes up people's souls. So even if we don't disparage any particular detail of the Torah, of the rabbis' arguing side of the Torah, just the idea that, man, this all is just seemingly overly complex. There's too much argument. Well, that also is disparaging on a whole part of souls. On the other hand, if we develop a deep love and appreciation for that, then we're also loving the souls that we're trying to help. So that's a good one. Okay, that was all review. Okay, so now I think this is going forward. And we bring all of these souls, and we bring this, for now let's call Eshu Mayim, this complementary mixture of complexity and simplicity. And we bring it within our prayer. We bring our full selves, our simple selves, and our complex selves to prayer. And this is called the glory of God, which we still have not yet defined. So this is what all the angels were talking about: complexity and simplicity, which makes us up, makes up us, and makes up the heaven. It says in Tehillim, Kapitel Samech Vav, that we should place the glory in your prayers. Okay. So we're going to now look at a little thing on the word glory here from a different Likutei Moharan, and we'll discuss what this idea of glory is and hopefully clarify this matter practically. Okay, so he says in Likutei Moharan, Siman Tzadik Daled, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mishari Shechinasa B'Teich Alshech Yisrael. Hashem places His presence within every Jew. Nimsa Kol Echad Yisrael Nikra Levush, and that makes every Jew a garment. We have this thing inside of us, and we are the externality of. If it's our internality, we are its externality, right? So we're the thing on the outside of it. So we are Hashem's clothes. Levush Nikra Kavod. There's a Gemara where Rabbi Yechanan put on his jacket, but it's referred to as mechabdusa, his chabdusa. It's leshon kavod. So it means garment. The word kavod means garment. So essentially, this mixture of complexity and simplicity equals. That's what is the glory of Hashem that provides this rejuvenating effect for all the souls that we take with us. So, a series of mishalim to connect with this idea on not just sort of an abstract intellectual level, but on like an experiential level. Start with the most external mashal. Sort of a common format bad dream. Probably everybody's had this dream. It's kind of one of the archetypal dreams that are out there. Other dreams are modeled off it. If you read about like Chachmos about dreams, they talk about this dream. A guy goes to class and he's going to give his report, and he stands up before the class and he's got all his papers ready, and he looks down and he realizes he didn't finish getting dressed this morning. So that's awkward. He's missing an essential garment. Let's take the same mashal in the fold a little bit. The guy gets invited to give the drasha in shul on Shabbos. He's going to give a speech for everybody. He did some research into an interesting issue in Torah, and he's going to share his at least his research. A drasha actually just means a search. It doesn't imply you're going to say something new, but oftentimes something new arises. When you go read in depth enough, it's sort of an automatic thing that you have some new thought that arises. You didn't see it in any commentaries, but it's there in your mind as sort of a silhouette of all the things that you read. And he goes up there to give his drasha, and he takes the English translation of Chumash, and he just starts reading just the English Chumash, and does this for about 5 minutes, and he sits down. Well, that's awkward. Look, I mean, we can also do that. We can just read the English very. We don't need you to stand up and do that for us. They had a Baal Korah who came up and read the simple words of the Torah with the correct trope and from a kosher Sefer Torah, which is not an easy thing to do. He clearly prepared. That's not something we could just do ourselves. It's a little bit like you go to a fancy restaurant, they give you macaroni and cheese. They give you something you could do. That's sort of on a spiritual, or at least a social, intellectual level, sort of like not being clothed. It's like he went up there unclothed to give the drasha. He didn't like wrap it in anything. Let's take it one more step inside the fold. A guy goes to pray and he realizes, I'm not wearing my gartel. Oh no, what do I do? So why is the gartel important? So one of the simple explanations of this pasuk, is you should dress up a little bit nice when you pray, like you're going before a king, how much more so the king of kings. So what's this particular thing about the gartel? Is this nice? There's two basic reasons for the gartel within the laws of prayer. One of them is a basic halachic reason, one is a Kabbalistic reason. The more binding, non-optional, basic halachic reason is from the pasuk, "Heichen likros Elokecha Yisrael," prepare to call to your God, and the actual stipulation is don't dress down. If you always wear a gartel, and they specifically discuss a gartel in that halacha, or a chagor in Hebrew. If you always walk around with a gartel, like you see many Hasidim with the long jacket, and they always wear it, they don't just put it on with the prayer, they wear it the rest of the time too. Then it is usher to take it off at the time of prayer. Because now it's like, oh great, the brilliant guy is going to go up and give a drasha, and he goes up there and he just reads the English translation of the Chumash. It's like, this is like if it was a dumb guy, it would be one thing. He's not. He's a brilliant guy, and he's doing that. Or, the top student in the class comes up to give the report, and he's always super prepared. He's famously prepared, and now he's very underprepared. Well, this is sort of a chiddush. So, this is the basic halacha of the gartel. There's also a Kabbalistic reason for the gartel, which if you see someone who does not ordinarily wear a gartel, and they go to pray and they tie on a gartel for that, this is perhaps the reasoning. By the way, you don't need to separate the heart from the groin with a gartel these days. We have pants that accomplish that. In the old days, where you would just you just had one giant piece of cloth and you'd use that as a garment, use it as a sheet because they didn't have sewing machines. That would be a relevant halacha. That you would cover your body and you would have to have something tight about your waist. But these days they have pants, so that reason is not the reason. The reason is there is a spiritual location. It is one of the relatively high ones, called Adam Kadmon, and it is basically the blueprint of the universe described in human terms. There's a reason that humans emerged as like this. People even say it's an emergent factor of the universe, the humans. Well, that's because that was like the first thought, was that this will be a place where humans Jews, it also does say that in this farm, Jews are going to rise out of this place. Many things will occur. There may be, rocks crashing on outer space and gravity, and all these things will have to affect. So there can be a planet, and there's an atmosphere, and all these things will happen. So that, there's going to be a Jewish guy there at the end. At the very least, a human, we can say, by Adam Kadmon, because it's described in human terms. Now, Adam Kadmon emits various lights from his face, and these lights basically form the structure of the spiritual worlds. All the spiritual worlds are based on different lights, and there's a particular light that comes out of the eyes, and it's not actually the light of the eyes because that light is too high. We don't talk about that light, but there is a light that comes out of the eyes, and it's actually the light of the chest. And that's where it comes. There's no holes in your chest for it to come out, so that's what comes out of the eyes. It's squeezed out and it comes. And this light goes very deep into the world. You can see far. There's a reason for that. You can see further than you can smell. You can see further than you can hear. Right? Seeing is a very long distance sense, definitely more than you can taste or feel. So seeing, it goes very far down and then it bounces back. And it goes back inside of Adam Kadmon. and then it starts to go down. And if it were to collide with the lights in the lower half of the torso, it would create an explosion. So there is in the body of Adam Kadmon, and I think this is reflected in the human body too, there's some sort of a membrane separating the intestinal area of the torso and the lungs, heart area of the torso, so to speak, and this prevents this explosion from happening inside of Adam Kadmon. So, as relates to our avodah within the concepts we've discussed in this the gartel, that is because we don't dress down for the prayer. This is essentially bringing our full appreciation of the oral Torah with all the rabbis arguing stuff to the prayer, because we know this is going to help souls and it will also help us along the way. We discussed previously learning schus on people as a way that if I can come up with 5 reasons why that guy's a great guy, I can help him more with my own prayers. And the smarter you are at Halacha, the better you can do that. You can come up with indisputable reasons and numerous reasons. So that's basically the concept of the gartel that is from Heichim. Once a guy starts to do this, he should be aware of something. Once a guy starts to know a little bit of Torah Shabbat Peh, he doesn't necessarily, he's not Mapapel yet. He's not comparing the Rambam versus the Ramban and how do their opinions compare and contrast, but he knows what the Rambam said. Okay. Now he's going to encounter some hard questions. People are going to bug him. He's not quite at the level that he can answer hard questions, but he's attracting them now. The heretical inclined person, there's a thing that we don't really have real heretics these days because nobody's brilliant enough and know enough to be a fully willing heretic, but there are people who are inclined. And if a guy goes up and just reads the straight words in English on there, that guy is not going to, it's not worth messing with this guy. He just read the straight words of the good word there, so whatever. But a guy, and conversely, a guy who is really brilliant, the heretic just doesn't really have anything to say to this guy. He can't even understand what he's talking about. By the way, on the concept of the drasha, the guy coming up on Shabbos and giving the speech and the awkward situation, imagine the other way. He goes up there and he gives this pill pull, the Rambam versus the Ramban, versus Rekibi Aver versus the Baal Shem Tov, and he makes this whole, weaves this thing, and nobody knows what he's talking about. And everybody's like, well, I have no idea what just happened, but it was awesome. Right? It was not awkward, it was just like, wow, it was cool. And so there is kavod in that. There is glory. This is a well-dressed person. I can't even comprehend how well-dressed he is. The heretic has nothing to say to that guy. He's scared of that guy. But the guy who can quote a little bit of Chazal, and then he's, well, how does Rashi know that the sky actually has these layers that are not crashing into each other? And that's what it means that Hashem made the Rekiah and the Shemayim, and we have different terms. How does Rashi know that? He see it. The guy who's starting off is going to get those questions. So, the second level of gartel, which is prevents the explosion from happening. Once somebody has emitted a light, the light that returns, they don't want to create an explosion in themselves. This is called Hassidus, and I don't mean Hassidus in terms of the Torah's Hassidus, but rather certain behaviors of piety. There are some that are internal and there are some that are external. Being careful to always wear a belt around your thing when you're davening, if you don't ordinarily do so, is midas Hassidus. This is an external pious act. You could also just have the intention in your mind of having that layer and have it be internal. But an external Hassidus, if a guy is like really pious seeming and he says something weird from Chazal, again, the heretic doesn't have much to say to this guy because he's not a reasonable guy that I could just go up there and like have a debate with. He's just like a religious nutcase. And the people who are actually interested in what the Hasidic guy is saying will be like, they'll still listen. They don't mind that he has interesting rituals, that he wears a hat that I've never seen in my life before. It doesn't look like the hats that people normally wear in New York City. He's not going to mind that it's like that. So the second level of gartel is a defense mechanism. But the ikar here that we're talking about, there's a thing that even though many people in Breslov do dress Hasidic, myself included, there's a thing in Breslov that what is the minhag of Breslov? It's the Shulchan Aruch. And in the Shulchan Aruch it says don't dress down for davening. So the basic concept here is that we take our full appreciation of the Torah Shabbat to the davening. And in doing so, we create clothes. right? We give a good drasha, we brought the Rambam, and we brought Rashi, and we did a little compare and contrast. We showed up to give our book report, and we were wearing all of our garments. We went to pray, and we had our full appreciation of the souls of everybody that we're praying to try to help. Any disparaging that is in there, that is in a learning order or davening, is sort of like a piece of a garment missing. He's wearing a nice shirt, but there's a big hole, right? Sort of I can see the skin. It's weird. So, bechinas tehilasi achatayim lach. And this brings us back to a concept we discussed at the beginning, that Hashem shoots beams out of his nose, and these beams, these beams affect the fates of everybody in Mashiach, and all those who pray in the way that Mashiach prays and learn the way that Mashiach learns, as we discussed, influence how exactly those come down, or sort of in control of aiming the beams. So the more that we dress up our prayer, the more that the Shefa comes into the world in a dressed way, that it is a good fit for this situation. A friend was an opera singer and a waiter, and they told him, don't sing opera while you're waiting the tables. It's too much light for this situation, and it doesn't actually improve people's meals. Right? My teachers all used to say that if you have an electric generator for your house, you don't want the biggest generator; it'll blow up your appliances. You want the right amount of electricity, right? So it'll send down the shefa in a clothed way, that it comes down in the right amount. Now, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to read a little gematria that jumped out at me in learning this. Bar levush means a guy who's dressed. It's gematria 540. Lidroish in this case means to stand up on the bima and give the drasha and Shabbos. That's also 540. To come, tell an instruction, stand up, like for Shemona Esrei prayer. By the way, the thing we said about the Gartel is really specifically about Shemona Esrei prayer. Amida, which literally means stand, is also gematria 540. So when you take bar levush, lidroish, and the come, these are all 540. Now, add the number of letters to it. There's 14 letters in these three phrases. Also, there's three phrases, so add 3 to that, and you add 17, you get 557, which is the gematria of Gartel Hagor. This is the Gartel of the Hagor.
What does that mean in English?
Belt.
What?
Belt. This is belt. It's the Yiddish word in the English word. The thing that I was talking about, the belt, the Gartel. Yeah, they just mean belt, both words.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Are you easy?
Only 10 minutes. 10 minutes? No.
He's very short. Very short. Our correspondent.
Geert van...
Gerard
No,
van-
Geert.
Gerard.
1 minute, no.
Gerard.
What's your name? Gerard van der Wilde.
Yes, almost. Gerard van, not van der.
Van Wilde. Not
Oh,
to
yeah.
be confused with the Prime Minister of Holland, whose name is...
Geert Wilders.
Geert Wilders.
Yeah, but he's not Prime Minister.
Well,
They're
why don't you go to Amsterdam? They're looking for you.
You ready to go?
Hold on,
Our
hold on.
correspondent.
Correspondent sounds like Deutsche Propaganda Company Kriegsberichte.
Kriegsbericht. Ja.
Deutsche Wochenschau. Mein Gott. 1 minute. Which camera do I look at? Which is the one
This one.
this will go up on YouTube?
Yeah.
Hold on.
And this is live.
Okay.
So when you're ready,
Yeah, ready.
yeah? 3, 2, 1. Off you
First, a short letter of mine that was printed on the subject of Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef. The matriarchs Rochel and Leah each merited to produce a descendant who would participate in the messianic redemption. Od Yosef Chai. Yosef lives on, and David Melech Yisrael Chai v'Kayam. David, king of Israel, is alive and vigorous. The Moshiach will be from the earth. his goal will be to confront the Edomites. Mashiach ben David will be from heaven. His goal will be to confront the Ishmaelites, the Arabs, the Muslims. And together they will take on a still greater enemy, the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, the disloyal, nominally Jewish traitors of the mixed multitude, says the Vilna Gaon. Quote, 40 years before Mashiach ben David, there will appear Mashiach ben Yosef, who will be slain by the king of Persia in Jerusalem, says the Pirchei Hechalos, and where he will be resurrected, Gemara Sukkah 52. In the entire Talmud, there is only one reference to Mashiach ben Yosef, talking about his death and resurrection, Gemara Sukkah 52. Other scenarios have the Mashiach ben Yosef being killed by the anti-Mashiach Armilus, who will rule from where? From Gaza, says the Midrash. In the 14th blessing of the Shmona Esrei, the Amidah, we say, V'kisei David abdecha meheira b'socha tochin. May the throne of David be as speedily established, which the Arizal says that Kisei David, the throne of David, is referring to the Mashiach ben Yosef, for whom we pray that he not be slain by Armilus. Although it is possible for the neshamas, the souls of both Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef to be emplaced within the frame of one man's body, while still retaining their different tafkidim, their different roles, the general opinion is that they will be two physically separate individuals. Moshe utrein Mashiachim, Moshe and the two Moshiachs, says the Tikkunei Zohar, and referred to in Zechariah chapter 4, Shnei Zesim. These are the two olive trees, which the Psikta says hints at the two Moshiachs. Quote from the Sadia Gaon in his famous Emunus Vadeos, Hashem will return us to the land of Israel even if we are sinners devoid of repentance. There we will be beset by troubles and distress. This will catalyze in the Galil a military leader from the Zerah Yosef, from the seed of Yosef, whose task will be to rebuild the third temple. In the Galilee, according to the Maram Loes, means tzvas. That means now amongst us somewhere there is a potential Mashiach ben Yosef, a military leader. Moshe Rabbeinu in Dvorim 33 in his final brochas to the Shvotim referred to Yosef as Bechor Shoro Hadar Lo. His glory is like a firstborn ox, which the Midrash states is the Mashiach anointed for war, to be descended from Yosef HaTzadik. Speculation as to the potential Mashiach ben Yosef candidate who exists in each generation has included Yehoshua ben Nun, Avia, the son of Yerovam ben Nevot, Yonah Hanovi, that's Jonah in the whale, could have been a Mashiach ben Yosef, Nehemiah ben Chushiel, Rab Chaim Vital, disciple of the Arizal, Rab Shlomo of Karlin, the Vilna Gaon himself, Rabbi Meir Kahan, and even Jonathan Pollard. Yes, some say Jonathan Pollard is a candidate for Mashiach ben Yosef. Not only is it possible for Mashiach ben Yosef to be a Kohen, he can even be a woman. He can even be a non-Jew, a Gentile, states the Kol HaTor, Bechina 8 and Bechina 130, written by Rav Hillel of Shklov, disciple of the Vilna Gaon. It states there that the Mialdos, the midwives in Egypt, they were the Mashiach ben Yosef of their generation. Queen Esther of Persia, she was the Mashiach ben Yosef of her generation. And Koresh, Cyrus, king of Persia, a non-Jew. He was the Mashiach ben Yosef of his, as it says in the Novi, Ko amar Hashem leMashicho leKoresh. Thus says Hashem to his Messiah, his Mashiach, Koresh. This is referring to Mashiach ben Yosef. However, it's to be borne in mind that Mashiach ben David, he must be a man and he must be a descendant of Ishai. Quote, everything that Moshe and Yehoshua did in the war against Amalek, Eliyahu and the Mashiach ben Yosef will accomplish for their descendants, says the Rambam. May we soon witness the Arba Charoshim, the 4 craftsmen referred to in the prophet Zechariah chapter 2, which the Gemara says, who are these 4 craftsmen? The Mashiach ben Yosef, the Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu HaNovi, and the Kohen Sedek. And may we merit to see a Geula, a redemption, not via Jewish debacle, shame and disgrace, Be'ita, fought by minuscule remnants, with possibly as few as only 6,000 Jews surviving in Eretz Yisrael, says the Sefer Chesed L'Avraham, nor the only 1 in 5 Jews who left Egypt. Other opinions say it was only 1 in 50 who left, others only 1 in 500, and according to Rav Nahoroi, a paltry 1 in 5,000 Jews left Egypt, but instead a Geula with both Mashiachs appearing Achishena with a speedy and glorious Jewish victory. And a very short article of mine on a different subject, on the subject of the decrease in the speed of light. In time to come, the theory of evolution and the tremendous ages attributed to the age of the earth will be shown to have been one of the greatest deceits ever foisted on humanity, flummoxing even some Orthodox Jewish scientists. Yes, flummoxing. Quote from Gemara Sota, from the day of the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, there is no day without curse. The dewfall is not blessed. The delicious taste has been removed from fruits, no tel tam min peirot, and each new day the curse is greater than the day before. Physically, why should this be so? As we know, E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the square of the speed of light. Thus, a mere 1 kilogram of matter currently has the potential of unleashing for 1 second 90 billion megawatts of power. Hiroshima was a big surprise, not just for Hirohito. Even in this lowly universe, Asiya Gashmi, which is at the very bottom of the Hishtalshalus, Olam Hazeh Tachton She'ein Tachton Lamata Mimenu, where the Tzimtzum is at its greatest, yet even here, Kocho Ugvoroso Mole Olam, his power and strength literally fills the physical universe. All matter is composed of immensely compressed, concretized light. The speed of light, c, has always been assumed to have been constant at 186,000 miles per second. Recently, however, Australian and Russian researchers have noticed that measurements of c going back hundreds of years give consistently and invariably higher values, and that this was not due to observational error or limitations of equipment, but indicates a real decline of precipitous proportions and lent unexpected scientific support for a creation date of around 4000 BCE, in accordance with the Torah. Since C is fundamental to all chemical and physical relationships in the universe, the consequences of its decline are far-reaching. For example, 1, the rate of radioactive decay, the process whereby atoms of an element emit radiation and change to a different element, was much higher in the past. This leads to the false appearance of age. Rocks which seem to be hundreds of millions of years old by today's disintegration rates have a true age of only thousands of years since their formation. 2. Light from the distant galaxies is claimed to have been traveling for millions of years, but with light moving up to 10 to the power of 11, which is 100 billion times faster. At the instant of creation, the speed of light may even have been infinite. Such distances could be traversed in only thousands of years. 3. Astronomers have been puzzled by the observation of superluminals, matter apparently moving at many times the current speed of light. However, they are seeing events which occurred when the speed of light was much faster, so these superluminals are not doing the impossible. 4. The universe is not expanding, it is contracting. The observed Doppler redshift being in reality caused by the decline in the speed of light, without which there would be a Doppler violet shift to the other end of the spectrum, and this accounts for the so-called missing mass of astronomy. The Doppler effect is the apparent change in frequency of light as it moves towards or away from the observer. 5. Geological effects such as heat transfer, magma flow, splitting of the land masses, and the drifting apart of continents, such as happened in the generation of Peleg, took months, not eons, when sea was higher. 6. The fossil record shows that plants from the time of the Mabul, from the time of the flood, were much larger than today, due to the greater number of light photons reaching them, and a higher rate of photosynthesis, which is the conversion of light energy into plant growth. Lower viscosity and faster diffusion accounts for antediluvian flying insects 4 feet long, and the higher lift-to-drag ratios made possible the flight of pterodactyls and pterosaurs, giant flying reptilian-type creatures with wingspans of up to 40 feet, which has long puzzled scientists, as today no such creature could fly. Breathing, blood flow, nerve impulses, and ion movements would all have been faster and more efficient, accounting for the superior size, longevity, intelligence, and fecundity of the first human beings. For example, the multiple births of talking offspring straight from the womb only a few days after conception, says the Midrash. In time to come, light will regain its pristine ancient velocity, so all the miracles told for the Messianic era become more readily understood. Physical light is only a moshel for the real light, the Or Ein Sof, radiated by Hashem himself, whose glory may we soon merit to see. Shis alfei shanei have alma v'chad chruv. The universe will exist 6,000 years. Gemara Rosh Hashanah.
Well, interesting. Tomorrow morning, I think Yuda is going to figure it out. Who wants to do it this time? You were laughing. I heard you have a very interesting show.
We have to show it in the page. How do we do it? Like I'm showing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And we got to show it here to the camera. Shall I show it like this to the camera?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Would you want you want something on the back?
Yeah, I'll put something on the back. Yeah.
You have?
I'll
Oh,
put
okay.
this. You know.
Okay.
Just put this like this.
Just want to say, I'm really looking forward to hearing your talk. I will.
Hashem yishmor. Bezrat Hashem. Bezrat Hashem. Thanks.
I'll check you. I'll make a, how do you say, a test.
Okay. Bezrat Hashem will do it.
Well, you're the last one, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, good. Okay, I just spray a little bit.
you like it if you put the clock here, or you?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
What do
Okay.
you
Okay.
prefer?
No, it's good. It's good here. Yeah, very good.
Whatever you want. If you say okay, then I
Yeah.
release it.
Yeah. Just give me
Yeah, okay, no problem.
time to digest.
I go out for 1 second because I have an appointment.
Go ahead.
I'm not gonna make it, so when you start it, I just go out, send the message.
No problem. בסדר גמור. אוקיי, בעזרת השם.
3, 2, 1.
בעזרת השם יתברך, today we're going to see something very, very special, very, very surprising. It's the first time I'm showing this. And Bezrat Hashem, it's going to be to our group here that I'm showing this. It's known that the Torah has many, many secrets. We see that many, many times we have gematria, mathematics with the otiyot, with the words, that reveal many, many things about what the Torah is saying. We have many, many ways and many, many secrets that are revealed in the Torah. In the 1950, there was a rabbi called Rabbi Weizmandel. He lived in the United States, and he discovered through the Ramban that if a person counts letters in equal distance, I'll explain what it means, he can see a lot of the things that are happening today that were written already 6,000 years ago in the Torah. That means that we are seeing now, what I'm going to show you, B'ezrat Hashem, is future of 6,000, almost 6,000 years in the Torah, that are things that are happening now, actually now. I'm going to show you, first of all, I have to explain how this works. I'm not going to go into a huge lecture of statistics of how this thing works. If you want, you can see it in the sites, in the internet. Rabbi Professor Ribbs, he explains the whole statistics, the events of statistically, how it works. But I'll show it to you, Bezrat Hashem, in a short way, and I think that you'll understand what I'm saying. Okay. We want to see, he said, I want to see where Rambam appears in the Torah. In the Torah, and the Chumash. Why would a Rambam appear in the Torah? Rambam lived maybe 900 years ago. The Torah was written almost 6,000 years, 3,500 years ago. How can it be that you will have Rambam in the Torah? So I said, listen, I want to see. Maybe I'll find Rambam in the Torah, because the Ramban says that if I find letters in equal distances, there's many, many secrets that I'll find. Okay. He started looking for equal distances of Rambam. Rambam, Resh Mem Bet Mem, and he found it in Sefer Shemot. I can see it now?
This camera.
This one? Okay, I hope
A
it's
little bit backwards, but also maybe it's like this. Is that easier?
Yeah.
Can you see?
Oh, great. Okay, no, it's hard to see. I'll see it from here. ויאמר השם אל משה, לא ישמע עליכם פרעה, למעט רבות מופתי בארץ מצרים. Rambam. From Resh to Mem, we've got 3 letters. From Mem, no, this is abbreviation, sorry, this is not equal distance. Rambam, Resh, Mem, Bet, Mem. First abbreviation, Resh, Mem, Bet, Mem, Rambam. Okay. This doesn't mean anything. In any book that you'll find, you might look at the word and you find the same abbreviation, Rambam, even in newspaper, Lavdil. But let's see if there's other things that are written right around Rambam. He says, which book did Rambam write? Mishneh Torah. All of a sudden he sees, right in front of near Rambam, there's the word Mem, Moshe. Moshe, lo yishma alechem paro. We start with Mem, Shin, Nun, Hey, Mishneh. That's an equal distance of 50 letters, which means that from Mem to Shin, there's 50 letters. If you want, you can count it. We don't have the time right now, but you can count it if you want. From Shin to Nun, 50 letters. From Nun to Hey, 50 letters. Torah, Taf to Vav, 50 letters. Vav to Resh, 50 letters. Resh to He, 50 letters. I hope it's clear enough here. You can make it more bigger, maybe?
I don't know. I don't.
No?
Maybe.
Okay.
But this is a very small
Okay,
screen. So
okay. All right, but it's it. When they see it,
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah.
Okay, fine. So we've got here now a very interesting find. We see Rambam. No big deal, you can find it anywhere. But what are the statistics of finding his book right next to him with an equal distance of 50 letters, Mishneh Torah? That's the book that Rambam wrote. And this is all in the parasha of Moshe, Revod Muftai Be'eretz Mitzrayim. Now, where was Rambam most a lot of his life? In Mitzrayim. So now we have a relation of Mitzrayim right next to his name. So the parasha relates to him. He lived in Mitzrayim. This is Mitzrayim. When was he born, Rambam? He was born in exactly 14 Nisan, 14th of Nisan, in Pesach. What does it say here? והיה לכם למשמרת עד 14 יום לחודש הזה, which is Pesach, ושחטו את כל קהל ישראל בין 40. So we've got here, in one page, in the parasha in the Torah, we've got Rambam, we've got his name, his work, Mishneh Torah, equally distance letters. We've got also Remez, when he was born exactly when the parasha is talking about here, 14th of Nisan. And we've got Mitzrayim, where he lived a lot of his life. Now, statistically, for this to be relevant, yeah, if we've got two pieces of information in equidistant letters in one page relating to each other, statistically, it's almost 1 to 1 million that this will happen by chance. Which means to say that this was put in the Torah already, Rambam, his name, his work, in this kind of a secret form, like we are saying now, 3,500 years. Let's put it this way: 2,500 years before Rambam was born already. This was already put in the Torah. Okay, now, if this is the case, what we need is statistically to see that something is not occurring by chance. It's enough to show 1 to 10,000 chance. If it goes over 10,000, it means that this is not a chance. This is something that's planned. We've got here much more than that. Okay, let's go on. What Rabbi Weismandel did, he took the whole Torah, put it into the computer, and the Torah was given to Moshe Rabbeinu. It's known that it was given without any spaces and without any nekudot, points. Just like this. So he put the whole Torah into the computer. Mishneh is over here. Torah is over here. If you count, you'll see 50 letters between Mem to Shin to Nun and Hey. Tav to Vav to Resh to Hey. 50 letters right next to each other. Okay. Now, let's see. So they did this also, investigations in 120 books. You might say to yourself, well, maybe I'll get a book and I'll start doing the same thing, any book. They didn't find anything that was relevant statistically in any book except for the Torah. All the information that I'll show you. Okay, so let's go now and get surprised. Trump. Is Trump in the Torah? He's here. Torah was written 3,500 years ago. What's he doing there? Let's see. What happened to Trump? A lot of things happened to him. One of the things that happened to him, it was an attempted murder, right? Does the Torah says that? Let's see. First of all, in equidistant letters, Trump. Tet, Resh, Aleph, Mem, Pei. It's only one letter between each one of them. Between Tet and Resh, there's Resh. No, what's it? Trump, sorry. There's Hey, Vav, Taf, Lamed. There's one letter equidistance between each one of them, Trump. Now, this could be an occurrence, but as we said, if we see more things, more letters that are exactly where the Trump is, the chances this is by chance, occurrence, doesn't exist. Okay. When was the attempted murder? It was on Shabbat, on the Yom HaShvi'i. Vayihaya bayom HaShvi'i. What happened? Vaya bayom HaShvi'i, Trump. Al Yamut, he's not going to die.
Wow.
Vaya bayom HaShvi'i. Bayom HaShvi'i, this is a pasuk from the Torah, but it's exactly relevant to what happened to Trump. So now you have also a pasuk talking about Trump. Al Yamut, he's not going to die, the Torah says. Let's continue. More information. Here it is again. Which parasha this is in? The parasha of the leper, the Metzorah. That's where we found Trump and everybody. Okay. Here it is. I'm showing you it again. Vaya bayom HaShvi'i. It will be on the 7th day. What would happen? Trump, here's Trump, the one we saw before. Iyare. There's going to be a shot. Iyare, lirot. What will happen then? Milut, hu yimalet. He's going to escape the attempted murder. Right next to him. Milut. What happens then? The pasuk says dam, blood. Ozen aymanit. Blood on the left, on the right ear.
Wow.
Here it is.
Right ear.
Here's the right ear. And here's the picture of what happened. Dam, boina yamanit. He had also blood in his thumb. And here is the picture of the blood. So you've got here, I don't have to say anything. You see it in front of yourself. I don't explain anything. You've got the pasuk talking about the leper, but it's exactly relevant to what happened to Trump, right in front of him. Now, let's go on. Who is Trump? Nasi. Again, Trump. Nasi. Here is D. Trump, Donald Trump. Who is he? Nasi, he's the president. Somebody, the attempted murderer, what was his name? Michael. Shem Rotzeach, the name of the murderer, the attempted murderer. Michael. Right there.
Wow.
Michael with W, with that Yud. It's exactly how they write it. So you've got here the name of the attempted murderer, D. Trump, Michael Nasi. Nasi is the Trump. Let's go on. So I think we have the whole story. You don't need to look at the news anymore. We look at the Torah, and you will tell us what's going on today. Maybe better than what the news has to say. Let's see another thing here. 1 second. This is something, what happened when Trump was the president, the biggest thing he did, he did what? Let's see. Trump, okay? Yamit will kill who? Suleimani. All in equidistant letters, one next to the other, all relevant to what happened to Trump. Are there more things here? More things from the future? Let's see. What happened in Gaza? Is it in the Torah? Of course. There's nothing that's not in the Torah. Let's see it. This is a picture of a pogrom in Europe, yeah? But it's the same that happened, it's happening again right next to us. Esh, fire. Tafshin Pei Dalet. That's the year that the war started in Gaza. Esh in Tafshin Pei Dalet. All one to next to that. What will happen there? Pogrom.
Yeah.
Pogrom is the, pogrom.
Killing Jews.
Killing Jews. Let's continue. In the same page. Age, Esh, fire, Tafshin Pei Dalet. What happened? Charavot Barzel. That's the operation, that was the name of the operation in Gaza. Charavot Barzel.
Iron sword. Iron sword.
Iron swords, right. Iron swords, good. Let's continue. This is all addition in the same place, all in equidistant letters, right next to each other. Esh, Tafshin Pei Dalet, Charavot Barzel. How many people were killed? 1,400. 1,400. What happened there? This Charavot, the thing that what happened, the murder in Gaza, Tashpil. Tashpil, how do you say tashpil in English? What's a good word for it?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know the Hebrew.
It's like tashpil is like put down.
Ah,
Put down at Bnei Israel. This was a complete put down of Bnei Israel. Yeah. We were embarrassed
no,
for
absolutely.
what happened there. Put down Bnei Israel. Now this is from the Pasuk. This is from the Pasuk. But where does it appear? Right near Charavot Barzel. So you see the Pasuk. You see the equidistant letters, all relating to the same story. Okay, let's see more. I can sit here for days and days, but let's see something that's very amazing. One time, I put all this in the computer, and we asked the name of Mashiach. So we wanted to see where does it occur, the name of Mashiach in the Torah. So we put Shem Mashiach. Oh, sorry, look at this. 1 second. Yeah. Shem Mashiach. The name of Mashiach. Look what happened. This is something that really, I was terrified when I saw this. Look at this pasuk that's right next to it. There's a pasuk that says, Vayomer, lama ze tish'al lishmi. The pasuk is saying, why are you asking for my name?
Wow.
We asked, Shem Mashiach, what's the name of Mashiach? Shem Mashiach. This is the pasuk, it came out like that. Why are you looking for my name? So it's a secret. You don't know. Okay, let's go on. Corona. Is it in the Torah? Let's see. I'll go to the whole story. Where is Corona? Corona. Equidistant letters. Right next to it, where? In Wuhan. That's where it occurred. It started in China. Yifrotz. It will start. Where? In Wuhan, Corona. Yifrotz. What is it? It's a nagif. Nagif. It's a virus. Okay. Where? Sin, China. So you have Wuhan, you have China, virus, Corona will start efforts. Okay, let's see one more thing, and I think this was amazing. I wanted to see if all my family is in the Torah. So we started putting names. I wanted to see where they are. Now, all my family comes from Iraq. Iraq is Bavel. The whole story of my family was near the Tower of Babylon, everything there. 30 people, all in equidistant letters, one next to each other. Cousins, mother, father, grandparents. If you want to see, you can come to my house and meet them. And I'll show you. Here it is. David Basha, that's me, equidistant letters. Where was I born? Israel. My father-in-law, his name is Shaul. Shaul. My daughter, Shtia Bria, Rachel, right next to me. Benny is my cousin. What's my middle name? Sasson. I've got the middle name. Right next to me. Yosef is my son. Menashe is the grandfather of my wife. David Basha. Where did I live? New York. I hope this is, you could see it, they could see it in the camera. I hope so too. And, okay, we continue onwards. I'm not gonna start telling you all these names, but just to show you the amazing thing here. These are 30 people from my family, all their names. Look how close they are to each other. They're all in equidistant letters. You know, if the chances of getting this is like 1 to a billion to see something like this. And what's amazing is, it says here, Ha'arki, which is Ha-Iraqi. And this is all in the Tower of Babylon, where Iraq is. Surprised? Don't be surprised. Everything is in the Torah. The Torah says itself that the Torah is the architecture plan of the 6,000 years that we're living in. So everything is there. Even a fly in China that flies right now, it's written in the Torah. Every person in the world is written in the Torah. Nothing can happen if it's not written in the Torah. The Torah is the plan of the world. You can see it, Bezrat Hashem, in all these examples. Thank you very much.
Wow, this is amazing.
Good, huh? Yeah, I got more information, tons of information. But I don't want to overburden. I hope they saw. I hope they saw the letters.
Yeah, I hope so too.